We continue now at the top of Daf Mem Aleph Amud Beis in Meseches Pesachim. This is Pesachim Daf 41b. Rava here says, Lo kashtayim, if a person eats the carbon Pesach no, if it's partially roasted, he's going to get 2 malchus. Rashi over here explains, Lo kashtayim mishum lo sochal no. First of all, the pasuk says you can't eat it partially roasted. Additionally, mishum lo sochlu ki im tzliyesh. Pasuk says don't eat it unless it is roasted, and this is not roasted. Techi im tzliyesh nami alav de lo sochlu koi. The phrase ki im tzliyesh also goes on lo sochlu. It's also a lav, so you get two malchus in such a situation. Mevushal lo kashtayim. If a person eats it cooked, same idea. He's going to get 2 malchus. Rashi says mevushal lo kashtayim mishum mevushal mishum lo sochlu kim tzliyesh. You get 1 malchus because it's cooked, the other one because it's not roasted. And finally, Rava says, no umavushal, if it is both na and mavushal, lo kashalish, then you're going to get 3. Again, you're going to get 1 for na, 1 for mavushal, and 1 for the fact that it's not roasted. Abaya says, Ein lokan alav shebechlolos. You don't get malchus on a lav shebechlolos. In other words, the fact that it's not roasted, that's not going to count, and you're not going to get malchus for that particular lav. Rashi says, Lav shebechlolos hu decholo kol mine bishulim she'ein on slio lesor. Lav shebechlolos means it's very general. It includes anything that is not considered roasting. That's already too general. You don't get a malchus for that. Gemara has 2 versions what exactly Abaya means. Some people say that what Abaya means is you wouldn't get 2 malchus, meaning if you're already getting malchus, let's say because it's cooked, or you're already getting malchus because it's no, because it's partially roasted, so you're not going to get an additional one for the lav shebechlolos. However, if let's say it would be only the ki im tzliyesh one, only that, you would get 1 malchus for that. Let's say it wouldn't be cooked, but it would be some other problem that it's not roasted, you would get 1 set of malchus. But others say no, that Abaya means you wouldn't even get 1 malchus. You would never get malchus for ki im tzliyesh, because that lav is not specified in the same fashion that the lav of chasima. The lav of chasima is the prototypical lav that we learn out malchus from. It says you can't muzzle your animal, so all other lavin to get malchus have to be similar to that, and if it's a lav shebechlolos, it's not similar. Rashi over here says, some say you don't get 2, meaning, since you're already getting malchus for na or mevushal, Abaya means you can't get another malchus because it's not roasted. You're really already covering that. For example, let's say you cook in the chame teveria v'achlo and you eat the karm pesach, so that's not called cooking. Dein kan malchus de bishul, you don't get any malchus for bishul, v'lo malchus shel na, it's not called na, lo mishum kim tzliyesh. You would then get malchus for a kim tzliyesh. But some say you don't even get that, even 1 you wouldn't get. Mishum ki im tzliyesh, you would never get malchus for ki im tzliyesh. Because the lav is not specified in the same fashion as the prototype lav de chasima, shumeforish isuro, because by the lav de chasima, the isur is clear, it's explicit. Usmichale parshas malchus lael minei. You have the parsha of malchus is discussed right before the lav de chasima, so that's why we learn out, in order to get malchus, it has to be similar to the lav de chasima. And the Gemara now continues with a very similar discussion by Nazir. Rava Omar, some change it to Omar Rava. Rava says, Achal zog loka. Let's say a person who's a Nazir eats the skin of a grape, he gets malchus. Shtayim, he gets 2 sets of malchus. Chartzon, if he eats the pit of a grape, loka shtayim, he gets 2 sets of malchus also. Zog v'chartzon loka sholosh. And if he eats the skin and the pit, he's going to get 3 malchus. It's the exact same cheshbon. Rashi over here says, Achal zog lo kashtayim nazir sha'achlo mishum zog lo yochal. Number 1, it says you can't eat the grape skin. Umishum mikol asher yaseh megefen hayayin mechartzin v'gomer. It also, there's a general lav, that's the idea of a lav shebechlolos, that says you shouldn't eat anything that emerges from the vine. To lo yochal kainami mikol asher yaseh. So that's why Rava says you eat the zog, you get 2, the chartzin you get 2, you eat the zog and the chartzin you get 3, because there's that additional lav shebechlolos, anything that emerges from the vine. Abaya says, Ein lokan al lav shebechlolos. Again, the same comment. You don't get malchus on a lav shebechlolos, so you're not going to get malchus on mikol asher yasa megefen hayayin. That you're not going to get, that's an inclusive lav. You're not going to get malchus on that. And the same 2 versions, Iko diamri, some say tartihu de lo lucky. You're not going to get that as a second set of malchus, chadam yos lucky, but if it's the only thing you do, you will get 1. Iko diamri, Achadanami lo lucky. Some say you won't even get one. Lo miyachid lave kilav de chasima, because the lav is not particular like the lav of chasima. And the Gemara continues with a brisa. Tana Rabbanan, we learned in a brisa. Achal kazayis nami ba'od yom. If a person eats a kazayis of the Korban Pesach partially roasted before Pesach begins, potter, in that case he is potter. Kazayis nami shachashecha chayev. It's only if he eats the partially roasted Korban Pesach after it becomes dark, the night of the 15th, then he's going to be chayev malchus. Achal kazayis tzli mi ba'od yom. Now if a person ate a kazayis of a roasted Korban Pesach, but it was before the time of eating, it was while it was still the 14th, lo pasal atzmo mi b'nei chabura. He doesn't passel himself from joining the group. The Korban Pesach is supposed to be together. It's supposed to be eaten together with a group. Kazayis tzli mi shachashecha. But if he eats a kazayis of the roasted Korban Pesach after it already became dark, then pasal atzmo mi b'nei chabura. Then he can already passel himself from joining the group. And Rashi over here explains, lo pasal es atzmo mi b'nei chabura. The amrinam lekamon. We're going to say later on, eina pesach nechol lo b'shtei chaburos ke'echad ve'ena ochel b'shnei mekomos. You're not allowed to eat the Korban Pesach with two separate groups, or you can't eat it in two places. V'nafko lon mi b'bayis echad yeyachel. Let's learn from a pasuk. It says it has to be eaten in one house. Umetargaminon b'chabura chado yisachel. We translate that as one group. V'achilul demi ba'od yom lav achili. So the point of the Gemara over here is when you eat it from before the night of the 15th, from before the time of eating, that's actually not called achila. And in such a situation, if you did that, you would then be allowed to eat it at night with the group that you originally appointed yourself with. The fact that you ate it earlier doesn't take yourself out of the group. You are now allowed to join that group since you did it before it was nighttime. You're still allowed to join the group which you originally intended. So that's what it means over here when it says, if it's a kazayas tzli mishachashecha pasal atzmei chabura. If you ate it already when it became dark, you ate the kazayas of tzli, then already if you didn't eat it in the proper group, you've passeled yourself from joining the group. Tanya idach, the Gemara says we have another brisa, yachol achal kazayas nami ba'od yomi hechayev. I might have thought that if someone eats it when it's partially roasted before the nighttime, maybe I would have thought you're chayev. Vidinu, and I would have even made a kal v'chomer. Uma b'shah sheyeshno b'kom echol tzli yeshno b'bal tochal na. If at the time you're supposed to eat it roasted, you get malchus for eating it partially roasted. B'shah she'eno b'kom echol tzli. At a time when you're not even supposed to eat it roasted, meaning before nighttime, eno din sheyeshno b'bal tochal na. Certainly there should be a problem of eating it partially roasted. Or not. Maybe you don't say that. Olo, or maybe not. Maybe you should learn the following way. Maybe we should say the exact opposite. At a time when you don't eat it roasted, meaning before nightfall, yashno beval tochal na. Maybe it's dafka over there where it's a problem and you get malchus for eating it partially roasted. And maybe at the time when you're supposed to eat it roasted, eino beval tochal na. Maybe you don't get malchus for eating it partially roasted. And don't be surprised by that. Because at that time we're suddenly allowing you to eat it roasted. So maybe you'll say it's actually a little more lenient after nightfall. That's when we allow you to eat it roasted. And if you eat it partially roasted, maybe you won't get malchus. So how do you know which direction? When is it more of a problem to eat it in a naw fashion, to eat it in a fashion that's not roasted? So the Gemara, the Brisa answers, Talmud Lomar, the pasuk says, Al tochlu mimenu no uvashel mevushol b'mayim ki im tzliesh. It says, don't eat it when it's partially roasted. Don't eat it when it's cooked. Only eat it roasted. She'ein Talmud Lomar ki im tzliesh. The pasuk doesn't have to add the phrase ki im tzliesh. Uma Talmud Lomar ki im tzliesh. Why is the pasuk adding that phrase? Lomar loch, to tell you b'shah sheyeshno b'kum echol tzli, that it's only at the time when you're supposed to eat it tzli, when you're supposed to eat it roasted, only at that time yeshno b'bal tochal na, then you're going to get malchus for eating it na, for eating it partially roasted. B'shah she'eno b'kum echol tzli, but at a time when you're not eating it roasted, meaning before nightfall, eino b'bal tochal na, you're not going to get malchus for eating it partially roasted. So basically the Brisa is saying, from the phrase of ki im tzliesh, we learn out that the prohibition to eat it na and the prohibition to eat it cooked and getting malchus for those things is only at the time that you eat it roasted, meaning after nightfall. Rebbe says, Ekrani bashel. It could have sufficed if I just would have read the pasuk that said bashel. Ma'atam Lomer Mevushal. Why does it have to say the extra word Mevushal? Why does the pasuk say don't eat it Bashel Mevushal? It all means cooked anyway. Why do you have to say it twice? So Rebbe learns from that as follows: Sheyachol ein li ela shebishlam mishachashecha. I might have thought it's only a problem if you cook it once night comes. Bishlami ba'od yom. But what if you cook it during the day? Minayin. How do you know that's also a problem? Talmud Lomer Bashel Mevushal mikol makom. That's what the double language is. Any way you cook it, whether you cook it after nightfall, whether you cook it during the day, it's going to be a problem. So the Gemara says, what are you talking about? We already darshan that before on the previous Amud. On the previous Amud, we said that the extra language of Bashel Mevushal comes to say that cooking is even a problem if it's tzli kader. Again, tzli kader is when you're cooking it in your own juices. You put it in a pot, but you don't add any kind of liquid. You just let it cook in the juices from its own fat. Or if you use other kinds of liquids besides water, we learned that out also from Bashel Mevushal. So how can he use Bashel Mevushal now to teach you something about when it's cooked, when he already used it to teach you what item you're in what fashion cooking is a problem? So to that the Gemara says, Im kain le makra o bashel o mevushal. If all you wanted to teach us was slikador or sharmashkin, then you could have just used the language of bashel or mevushal. Why do you have to change it slightly? My bashel mevushal. Why would you say specifically bashel mevushal? Shamat min atarti. So you see both things. That's why Rebbe's also able to learn out that it doesn't matter if you cook it after nightfall or if you cook it before nightfall. It's going to be a problem either way. Gemara continues with another brisa. Taner Rabbanan, we learned in a brisa, Achal tzli mi ba'od yom chayev. If he eats it when it's roasted before nightfall, he is chayev. Ukazayis na mishachashecha chayev. And also, if he eats it partially roasted after nightfall, he's also chayev. Katani tzli dumya dena. The Gemara says that tzli is compared to na. It's the same idea. Man na belav, just like when you eat it partially roasted, there's a lav. Af tzli belav. So too, if you eat it roasted at a time when you're not supposed to, meaning during the day, before nightfall, that's also going to be a lo sase. Gemara wants to know, I understand where there is a lav in the Torah against eating it na. It says straight in the pasuk, al tochlu mimenu na. You can't eat it partially roasted. And where do we have any prohibition in the Torah or a lav in the Torah, a negative commandment that you're not allowed to eat it roasted before nightfall? So the Gemara answers because the pasuk says v'yachlu es habasar balayla hazeh. It says you're going to eat the meat on this night. Balayla in biyom lo. You're going to eat it at night and not during the day. So that's going to be a negative commandment. Gemara says that's not a negative commandment. Hai lav haba mechlal asehu. That is a negative that is implied from a positive. Eat it at night, and we draw the inference you can't eat it during the day. That's not called a negative commandment. V'chol lav haba mechlal aseh. The rule is when you have a negative commandment that's inferred from a positive, that's actually considered a positive commandment. So the Gemara answers, Amar of Chisda. Rav Chisda says, Hamani, who is the author over here? And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Membez Amud Aleph.